All right, continuing forward with the Johnny 5 head series. Gonna get this wrapped up. Gotta get on to other things. So we got the noses all done up here. I'm getting ready to paint this one. Just kind of left everything in here. I don't know if I mentioned before, I put some different servos. I had to grind that one down a little bit. I put some different servos in here. I don't care for the ones that are being used. The high-tech ones are expensive and they're noisy. They like to have a high-pitched whine when there's a load on them. I think the Bobildas would work fine, but they're expensive, frankly. And found these on Amazon. They seem to be pretty good servos, and they're a lot cheaper. So tolerances are a little off, so that's why I had to do a mod on that. And you know, so had to make it work, but no problem there. We got it to work. If I had a little more time, probably could have adjusted the cat ever so slightly to accommodate, but not the end of the world. So I'm gonna sand these up, get this painted, take this, finish taking that one apart, get it painted. Gonna get that's sanded. We'll get that, well, get them primed. I guess get primed and then painted. Same with that one. Take those motors back out, and then I also got the metal pieces for these. They're already over here being primed. Probably already dry enough I can pick it up. So these were sim cut send. They wouldn't bend it though. I don't know if it's I submitted it wrong or maybe the bend line was just too much of a. As you can see there, it's a pretty critical bend. I don't know, maybe they didn't think they could bend it, so it didn't give it an option to bend. So I thought that was interesting. Could have been the way I submitted it. So I got them flat, and that's fine. I stuck it in the vise and bent them over. So worked just fine. I went ahead and tapped them. They're 0.80. Tapped those out. So that worked out fine. And then I had to drill those out ever so slightly so the servo screws will just slide through there. Not the end of the world either. So yeah, once that gets all painted up, we'll get these noses assembled, and then we'll move on to the flap. All right, so we got the nose pretty well fixed up here. I think that weathering turned out really well. That looks pretty good. Got the programming out. Been playing around with it a little bit to make sure mechanically it's working. Yeah, pretty happy with that. All right, a little bit more done. We've got those glued in. Got those motors mounted. And we got that guy together. So yeah, soon he will have a nose and some eyelids, eye flaps.
I believe in miracles. Where you from? You sexy thing, you.
So got a lot more done on Johnny 5's second head here, which might end up being his primary head. I'm still debating on that. He has a distinct look on his current head. It's got black on this part here. So struggling a little bit, but I do really love the way this one looks. So, and it's more accurate to the movie. So it's a pretty good chance I'm probably going to change them out. Not to mention the other one needs a lot of work. It's sort of version 1, and you know, version 1 they tend to need some loving, some updates and other things. Not to mention all the hours that are on it. So it's going to definitely take some work there. Yeah, so got the nose in here. This is the assembled version. This is the punk nose. You probably saw one of my photos. Got a little scratched up there for that. So we get that assembled. I had to order some servos, so that's why I haven't actually installed that one yet. So that might be a next weekend activity, because I really want to get that punk head working. So yeah, I think it turned out pretty well. I mean, it's got some minor defects here and there, but overall, I think this thing turned out pretty fantastic. I need to put the screws in that. I'll probably do that here in a minute. Got those in there. Got these all tightened up. Not Loctite anything just yet. We'll get the programming kind of down a little bit. I carried the programming over from the version 1 head, but obviously there's going to be some tweaks because nothing is exactly the same. I also use different servos in here. They've got a little bit of a different, they react differently to the adjustment. So in other words, it's got a wider limit. So I had to expand the limits out, which then means the programming has to change on the Maestros. So that's a little bit of a downside, but I've gotten most of this dialed in pretty good. I don't think it's going to take a lot of tweaks, but I tried to avoid having too drastically different whenever I hooked everything up, and I tried to adjust stuff so I don't have to reprogram everything. Like these eye flaps are real easy to adjust. You can just take the set screw and then put it where you want and then retighten it up. So those are pretty good, easy to adjust versus adjusting the program. So yeah, I think it turned out really well. He's looking really good. And what I really like about these other servos, if you're wondering why I went from the high-tech to these, there's no whine. He doesn't whine. It's on right now. This nose is on, and you can't hear the servos at all. So even though it's sitting there and it's got a power to them, it doesn't whine. The other one has this high-pitched whine that drives me crazy when it's resting. The neck does that too, so I'm probably going to switch that neck out on the robot as well at some point. So I really like those servos a lot better than those high-tech. So this servo here, it's got a little noise to it. I'm hoping it's not failing. I know I bought one of these used, I think. It might be the one I bought used, so don't buy used servos. Just spend the money, buy new, then you know that they're reliable. All right, so that's where we're at with Johnny 5's head number 2. All right, as we continue the head build here, a couple of things. One, I don't know why, but these holes were not present. I've never noticed that. I don't know why maybe it's an optional thing, but I had to drill those holes out. Note to self, do that before putting all this crap in there. I was able to get them drilled out and lined up, so that worked out. Got this installed, so I'll end up putting these covers back on here in a minute. And then one thing that I have done to my heads, because I've learned from the other one, is this here. I'll zoom in here for you, get a light. Is that little cap right there. So what I'm doing is I'll take the square nut and I put this little cap over it, and I design this up, and I just hot glue it on there. I put the screw in, that lines it up, and then I put a hot glue on it, and then I just push it on there. That way, when I'm putting the screw in, it doesn't push the nut out. I tried hot gluing just the nut, it doesn't stay. So I came up with something that actually could sandwich it in there. So I'm going to put this on all of mine going forward. I think that's going to work out really well. Alright, so this is how I built my telescoping antenna. Everybody each his own. Some people 3D printed them, which that's fine too. I decided to go the metal route. Mine does not have the spring, but most of the time his head's kind of tilted forward a little bit, so when it pops up, it'll automatically falls forward. So I'm just using gravity for mine. Definitely, if there's a better way of doing it out there, I'd love to know. And I would look at updating mine. So here's the one that's currently on Johnny. And the way, okay, let me actually start here. So when you buy these telescoping antennas, you get basically this, and you get this. These are the two pieces you get. This is supposed to mount on the radio, and then this mounts to the other end of it. So what I ended up doing was, because I needed to have length on this, what I end up doing is I pop out the I end up opening this up, and I'll show that here in a minute, but I'll open this up and get this piece out, okay, and I throw away this piece because it's too thick, and then I take this piece and I stick it into another one of these, where, like on the other end of this, for example, you see how it's tapered. So basically what I'll end up doing, I'll end up cutting this off anyway. I'll end up cutting it off like somewhere around here, and then and I've got to figure out what that length is. I'll have to go measure the other one, and then the rest of this is pretty much discarded, right? So then I can take the other end of this telescoping antenna, this piece here. I push all this out, use this end to push this piece up through, and you end up with this, basically. Okay. And then on the other end of this, I could not remember how I did it. This is the top. So on the top it has this, and then it has this piece, and it has the little ferrule that goes on top. I couldn't remember how I did this, so I took this apart, and I figured out that it's basically a screw stud or an all-thread piece. I think it's a screw that's been cut, and I put a standoff in there. So I pressed the standoff in there, so that way I can put that stud on there, and then all that just slides over it. So I don't even know what thread this is. Obviously it fits this, so I'll have to look at the CAD and see what that was. But, and this is metal. So Kyle had made this for me out of metal. It's freaking sweet. So, a nice piece there. So, that's how that's made. So then that'll go there. This will go into the top like that. This will have a longer piece on it, and it'll go down inside that guy. So let's get it together. So the way I got this apart was, this was on there, and then this was wrapped around it. So I just took my dikes and I just cut this way, or no, I take that back. I cut the other way. I cut this way on it. So going this way, I just cut like a little, just enough to get under it with a screwdriver, and then I peeled this back. It's just aluminum, peels right off. And then this is pressed onto this. So then I took my screwdriver, and you can see I put it in there and I twisted it. And then that pops that right off. And then you got that piece. Alright, so here's where we're at. It's a lot more difficult than I was remembering. So we got this cut. So this is what it looks like for this piece of it. The length of this guy is about 1.35. And then I put some Kapton tape around here to allow it to sit center inside of here, and it sits in there nice and snug. Then and I drilled these out, and you can see these are resin. It blew out the one side of it when I drilled it, but that's fine because when this goes on there, you'll never see it anyway. So, but I had to drill those out because the 440 stud here that goes on here is a little larger than the hole in the print. So I had to drill those out ever so slightly. Now this is the old one. I'm going to put the painted plastic version on this old one here, and we'll use that probably on the punk head. It's not the greatest print and everything, so probably use it on the punk head. We'll use this new version back on the new head, and then I'll make another one for the other head, for the current head. Okay, so this piece here, this one's roughly, let's see here, from, well, just the inner piece here, let's see, just this piece is about that. Make sure I got that center. Yeah, so 1.39. And so I cut that using a pipe cutter. I use always kind of pipe cutter. To get this piece in here, what I ended up doing was after I got that piece out and separated from here, I took it and I sanded around it until it was all flush, because it's got a lip on the end of that. So I've sanded it all flush. Now I had a complication, and I don't know if it's from the sanding or just from messing with it, but when I went to push it into the tube, it broke. It went into two halves. This went into two halves. Luckily, it appears it's like a brass. So I was able to, and it's not this one, it's this one. You can see where I was sanded on it, which is unfortunate, but that'll be okay. Never be noticed anyway. And I can always touch it up, I guess, if I really want to. But when I was sanding it, and after I started to push it in here, it cracked into two pieces. So I put it back together. I used a screw. I stuck it on the end of this. I used a screw to stabilize it. And then I soldered it. So I just soldered it back together, soldered the crack, and then I sanded that down to make it flush, and then I pressed it into this end. So you can't come from the opposite end. You got to go into the end that you want to go into. So I pressed it into this end, and just enough to where, about like that, where it's just below the, you can kind of see right in there. So, and then on this side, I put the standoff. And what I did is I put a little bit of CA glue on that, and then I pushed it in there because it was a little loose. And now it's in there. And then after that, when I went to put the stud in there, I got the stud where it kind of needed to be. I put these pieces together and I put it down on here. So once I got that all sorted, I knew exactly how much stud was going to go inside here. I put a little bit of Loctite on that. So now I can unscrew the top here, and it won't unscrew out of the bottom. So that's the one I made, right? This bottom piece here. Let me take that apart and I'll show you. All right, so that's what it looks like without the piece on there. So I can take this off. I don't know if it's gonna let me take that off or not. Yeah, there it goes. You can go a little bit up on that. You can kind of see in there. Let me take that off. All right, so that's what it looks like with this, with the standoff in there. And this is just a 4/4 screw I cut. Had the length of that one is, all right, that's a 3/4 inch stud is what that is. And I just cut the head off of it, and then I cleaned it up where it could be threaded. So that's it. So let's put all this together. All right, I got a small suggestion for putting on these lower eye flaps. They use a really small screw, like a 0-80, and they're really short. They don't tend to hold on to there very well. I would probably suggest having a longer screw in there, frankly. But a little trick that I do to keep these in place is I put a very, very small amount of this Gorilla clear grip on there. What I do is I right where you can kind of see on this one, because I wasn't all that careful about it because it's the punk head. I put it right between that arm and the plate. And I just put a little piece in there, and then I stick the screws in. It also helps hold the screws in place while you're lining it up, and then tighten it down. And then you won't get a wiggle. Once that's dry, you won't get a wiggle, and it's kind of a rubbery. It's on my fingers right now. Kind of a rubbery substance. So kind of like a hot glue, I guess. So if you ever need to take it off, it's not a big deal. You can peel it right off, and it won't harm the surface or nothing. But it also keeps a nice grip on there. So I just did that with these, because these were a little shaky. But yeah, coming along. All right, so I got the antenna installed. One thing I realized is why this antenna works so well is because this is metal, and it adds weight. So it falls over really easily, where this doesn't really have any weight in it, because that's plastic. So probably be good to try to figure out how to add a little bit of weight to that, but I think I got it figured out. It does fall forward, like it's supposed to. I think it's supposed to maybe go up a hair more, but I was trying to get to where it's seat down pretty close. I'm not overly particular on this punk head if it's perfect or not, because the whole point of the punk head is he's imperfect at this point. But that seems to work, and so I ended up having to drill this out ever so slightly, the hole. Once again, this is resin printed, so it's shrunk in a little bit. So I drilled that hole out to get this to fit through better. This shaft fits through fine, but the screw, where the screw is, would hit. And then I glued this into place, because it would want to pop up when it was coming up. And then I realized on this particular antenna, let me turn it here, is that it leans forward ever so slightly. I guess I put that in a little crooked, this here, which actually is working to my benefit, because by it leaning forward ever so slightly, it wants to fall this way. So that ends up working out. And once again, usually the head's kind of tilted down a little bit when this happens, so it'll help guide it.